Hello, lovelies. Oh, good to have you here. Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm Alyce Dylan, and the visual that you see on your screen isn't that interesting? I thought podcasts were voice only, and specifically on YouTube, when I went to go and I thought, okay, here's where I can do voice only things, and specifically on YouTube, you can't. You have to put a picture. So I had to create the Indigo Rose Lounge in order to have a picture to put with the voice. Why don't I show my face? Well, I'm not comfortable with pictures. I'm not. You could say that my stepfather was a photographer, and that's why. And maybe that's true. There's an element of that. But there's also the knowing of what I can do with a picture. If I have a photograph of you right now, there are things that I can influence in your life and in your being. Now, because I'm a sixth sense person and because I only have pure and good intentions, that would only ever be a positive. But we know out there in the world that not everybody is positively motivated. And so I just don't want to have that lying around. I know maybe I'm out. As an indigo child, as a sixth sense person, and, of course, the compulsory ADD diagnosis. In my case, however, ADD, they said it was attachment deficit disorder, not attention, because I was an A student, so there was no learning deficiency. But the attachment deficit disorder, if it was true, and who knows, that really did serve me because when I knew things, I knew them absolutely, and nobody could shake me off my knowing. So when I first saw a well, I shouldn't say the name, maybe I'll get into trouble for that. A MacD's. When I saw my first MacD's, I was nauseous. I thought I'm never going to eat anything from there, and I never did, and I never have. And yeah, and that served me really well. So I've always had a knowing about things that I limit to myself. I don't impose it on other people. Well, unless it's my child. I do impose my knowings, shame, on him. But my knowings are very strong in me. The force is strong with this one. And I don't compromise. And hopefully that's a blessing from ADD because I never really cared what anybody else thought or what their opinions were. I had to find the truth for myself. And once I'd found it, I was not letting go. But really, truth for me is an energetic experience. It's not an intellectual faculty. So, truth and the discovery of truth. Today, I want to address specifically with the sixth sensed, anyone here who's sixth sensed, who is a healing practitioner, someone on a healing path that has mastered that practice or gone on any kind of healing journey and then mastered the practice of whatever that is. I'm a little old fashioned. I do believe that before you start practicing something, you need to master it. So you need to be a master of something. And, a little bit traditional in that sense. But there are a lot of healing practices that you can take a 2-day course on, and then you're said to, okay, you can practice this now. If you're sixth sensed, often these healing practices give you an outlet. So you could do reflexology, for example, which is quite mechanical, where the organs are on the feet, and you can massage those and you can restore flow, etc., and clear up things. So it's quite mechanical in its action. But when you're sitting that close with someone and you're sitting in their field, as a sixth sense person, you will pick up things. Yeah, you will pick up things about this human being, where they are, and perhaps even receive information from their fairies, which tell you what could be helpful to this person's experience. And there is a strange phenomena that I found out there. There's a lot of healing practitioners tend to, well, look, as sixth sense people, we tend to self-isolate anyway, right? we put ourselves in cotton wool and the world's too loud and there's too much stuff out there. And so we tend to self-isolate. And then we become practitioners, and in our practice, we tend to self-isolate. So we carry on with our stuff. Maybe occasionally, if we've joined a group, like maybe by a dancing group, or we've done a Reiki class and we go to workshops, or it may be on the fringes. There is some practice or some hobby or some grouping that we gently maybe stick a toe into every now and again. But in our days, we tend to self-isolate still. I'm as much guilty of that as anybody. I loved my Reiki classes and I love my Reiki student classes too. I love teaching. But in terms of hanging out with fellow practitioners, that's very rare. I have a few friends, handful of friends, who are also healing practitioners, and the rest of them I tend to stay away from. Why is that? Well, we've been in isolation so long that we have pretty definite understandings of where we are and what we do. And we tend to, my experience with some other practitioners is they become a little fanatical in their understanding. So, for example, somebody understands that, or somebody believes that they were Tutankhamun in their past life reincarnation, which I do not agree with that understanding of it. I mean, I'm not saying we don't live multiple times. We absolutely do. I just don't quite get that one, especially not how everybody was Egyptian royalty. So I will, for example, spend time with a healing practitioner, and the fact that they were Tutankhamun in a past life will take almost 2 minutes to come up. And, they still carry a lot of their trauma. They may be still on their healing journey. And as a sixth sense person, they probably sixth sense the experience is quite raw. Oh, and it's just, wow, it's burdensome. I really understand why we stay away from it. We tend to, and even when we do meet each other and we like each other, we're very ginger in our we step very softly into each other's experience. We're very gentle in what we share and how we share. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. Ego could be one. Now that we found something that we really makes sense to us and may helps us make sense of our world, we don't want to be shaken off it. I think there's a degree of fear involved. Whatever it is, we don't tend to hang out with each other a lot. You would think, you would think. Oh, all you healers get together on Thursdays and have tea. No, we really don't. Unless we're forced together in some kind of workshop or practice. We tend to avoid each other. And yet, I must tell you, in those instances where I have spent time and practiced with and spent a significant amount of time with sixth sensed healers, both of us have benefited enormously. Oh, so you can tell from my accent that I was raised in South Africa, and one of the practitioners I've had the absolute uh, blessing to work with for a time was a local Sangoma and younger, beautiful soul. And working with her was one of the highlights of my life. We found our common ground. We came to understand, once we'd sat with each other and found out, oh, that's what you call that. I call that this. Oh, you call that that. But we had so much common ground and we just did the most amazing work together. And I hope we will again in the future. So there is a lot of space between healing practitioners to find common ground. And both of you can benefit enormously when you do that. You might have to round off your edges a bit. Don't be so brittle in your understanding. Give space to what other people understand in the words they assign. But it really is a very good idea. Obviously, it's got to feel right. So be open to that maybe if you're a healing practitioner. When you're hanging out with your fellow practitioners, see if you can find one or two that you could work with. I think you'll both benefit enormously. Love always.